Joey was there, so we need the first-hand account from you, Joey. What was it like?
Well, yeah, you're right. I was there. It was a homecoming game for Georgia Tech, and just kind of as I thought it would last week, it ended up being one of the most incredible atmospheres I've ever been a part of. It was under whiteout conditions, obviously homecoming, and not to mention that Florida State's in town. It always travels very well. So it was a very loud stadium, very active, very involved. Felt like it really kind of played into, honestly, the final drive that set up that field goal. Florida State suffered one or two crucial false start penalties with all the noise that was going on. It was everything I could have hoped for and more in terms of atmosphere. And then as that play happened, I'll tell you, I was in the upper stands and kind of watching it set up. I was looking straight down on where Aguayo was setting up to kick the ball, right there on about the 40-yard line or so. That's where they had the ball spotted. And they called timeout, and I'm looking around, people at me, and I had a couple of Florida State fans there, and I was saying, this is 57 yards, but this is in his range, isn't it? And they're like, oh, yeah. I was like, I figured. I couldn't remember how many Kicker of the Year national, awards he had won because he's that good. And, I just kind of haphazardly shouted out, let's pull some Michigan State stuff. I wasn't even thinking, just like, oh, whatever, okay, this will be fun. And then they did. It was incredible. They got the block, and everyone's kind of rejoicing, and everything kind of stops for a second as the ball's just laying there. And wouldn't you know it, but it's Lance Austin who picks up the ball. And as much as injuries have been a storyline for Georgia Tech this year, it's kind of crazy how that plays in here, because Austin was only on the field because one of the star players of Georgia Tech's defense, DJ White, was injured. And so he was playing in place of an injured DJ White. Picks up the ball, starts carrying it around, and has a convoy. And as I'm watching this unfold, it's like, he's not really going to get there, is he? Like, I halfway expected him to get tackled by the last guy and go to overtime, and he didn't. And it just, the stadium just gets louder and louder, and it was one of the most, I guess, immediate field rushings I've ever seen. Where usually it kind of takes a few minutes and people start trickling on, and next thing you know, just immediately just people pouring out of the stands. It was one of the craziest moments, and as a Georgia Tech fan and as a college football nerd, it's just so surreal to have been there and seen it with my own eyes and been a part of it. It was just amazing.
So Joey, I got to hear this again. You actually made the statement before the play, let's pull a Michigan State.
I said that in maybe slightly less family-friendly terms, but yeah, I said it 2 or 3 times. I was like, let's just do it. Let's pull a Michigan State here, and so I take full responsibility, basically.
Thanks for cleaning up that comment for our humble show here. Thank you. I appreciate that. So where does this rank among Georgia Tech highlights in your football fandom? Because I know that the team's struggling, so it's not like a championship moment like going to the Orange Bowl winning last year, but it's special. And like you say, I was on press row for the Bryce Drew versus Valpo, or for Valpo versus Ole Miss shot. So I was right there. It happened right in front of me, so that was really cool, and I see it every March. So this is kind of your moment in that realm.
Yeah, I look at this play, and not only in Georgia Tech history, but even in college football history, I fully expect this to be a really iconic moment that we're still talking about in 20 and 30 years. As I was walking out of the stadium, I was kind of comparing it to Cal Stanford, the band is on the field. And to have been there for it is, just the craziest thing to me. I was telling people, I was like, one day I'm going to have some 10 and 12-year-old kids, and I'm going to say, hey, did I ever tell you about the time that I was – yes, Dad, you told us. So it's so just shocking, and it's still kind of sinking in and exciting. So just the craziest thing, and I could not be happier that I was there for it.
So we usually go to the blogger with the bragging rights in regards to the best record, the best team, which would obviously be Ryan, but since that was just so amazing, or we go ladies first, but I had to hear from Joey first on this one. So Brittnee, we'll bring you in. Where do you think this play rates?
Well, I don't think it's as big as the Michigan State play, and it's for this reason. At the very beginning of the game, when Josh Sweat intercepted the ball, Florida State it was a first down. They were on the 2-yard line. They had 3 chances to be able to score, and they weren't able to get the ball across the goal line. I immediately began to think Florida State's probably going to be in some trouble tonight. They always struggle just a little bit with the attack and the triple option, but I really thought that the whole season long they looked like they were probably going to run into some trouble somewhere. And then when I saw that first possession end that way, I thought, well, if all you could get out of that was a field goal, this is going to be a long night. So I think it's a little lower on the totem pole of disaster simply because it looked all night long like they might not be able to pull it off. Dalvin Cook had only 82 yards for the entire night. He wasn't a big performer like he normally is. So had that game gone into overtime, I don't know that they would have pulled it off. Whereas Michigan, all you had to do was punt the ball or fall on it, and the game was over. I mean, that was a real simple, that should have been a cut and dry win there. So in terms of disaster, I think it ranks a little bit lower, but that was nonetheless painful for any of the Florida State fans watching, and nonetheless fun for any of the Georgia Tech fans watching for sure.